Most importantly, a CGM eliminates the one thing most people with diabetes hate: painful finger sticks. Take charge of your health. Order your new continuous glucose monitor today. If you use insulin and have seen your diabetes care provider within the last 6 months, you may qualify for a CGM today. We'll do all the insurance paperwork and deliver your new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost to you. Medicare and most insurances cover continuous glucose monitors, so don't wait. Have your insurance handy and call the CGM Health Hotline now.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Hi, my name is Jen Potter, and I am the host of Networking Now. I am joined today by two amazing guests, both of which are in similar fields, but do something completely different. And today we're going to talk first with Suzanne Dwyer. She is an intuitive business and lifestyle and coach, and she helps you to unbleep your brain. And it's so funny because I really want to say the word, but I can't. And Suzanne, thank you so much for joining us today. I've had the pleasure of getting to know you over the course of the past year or two, and really have dug deep into all of the things that you do. And when she says that that's what she does, I can right out the gate say that, yes, this is something that she does and does it so naturally. So thank you so much for being here today. If you want to just jump in, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, and we'll just get started.
Sounds great. Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. My name is Suzanne Dwyer. I'm an intuitive business and lifestyle coach. So my primary presence is really about helping people to find the lifestyle that they really want for themselves, and then kind of take that to the next level of then pivoting their business to accommodate the lifestyle. Because really, we are so busy on developing a business to be able to create a lifestyle, but really we're busy developing a business to create ourselves a job. And who actually really wants to work? No one, right? We don't want to work. We want to enjoy life. We want to have passions. We want to have things that make us light up. And the only way to do that is by start with defining your lifestyle first. And then your business will always fall in suit with that.
I love that. Defining your lifestyle will actually help you to determine what it is that you do. And I was writing that down. I was like, Jen, determine your lifestyle. You do a million things. Is this why I can't decide what I want to do? Maybe that's it. Maybe that's where we need to start. Wait, why didn't you tell me this years ago? But I mean, I define myself as a workaholic, right? And so I love to work. I love to do the things, but everything that I do, I'm super passionate about. So I feel that kind of is interchangeable. So I want tell me a little bit about defining this lifestyle and how it allows you to do the things that you want to do. It's technically working, but you don't see it as work.
Exactly. So predominantly what you want to look at is the things that really light you up, the things that make it feel like you're doing meaningful work. So when you feel like you're doing something meaningful or passion-based, it doesn't feel like work. But you got to get to kind of that heart center of yourself. And that really comes with the definition of really stepping into your own awareness. Because when you could actually step into your awareness, you start becoming more aware of the things that light you up, things that you enjoy. For most people, especially ladies, I'm going to kind of call us out here a little bit. We have a tendency of just kind of falling into the pit of despair, if you will, of what life has created for us, but not what we have created for ourselves. So when we become a mom, when we become a partner, when we start finding ourselves in a business or in a career path, we kind of give up the things that light us up. We kind of just jump into, well, we just have to do the thing, so we're just going to do the thing. So when you ask a lot of women what it is that they want for themselves or what they enjoy in their life, 9 times out of 10, they're going to say, oh, my family is like everything to me, and I love to read.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I had a conversation with someone just recently about that. And, they were making a change in something that they were doing. And, they talked about, putting the family first. And I 100% agree. Put the family first, whatever your priorities are. If that is what your priority is, like my family, they do always come first. But, and some people will fight me on this. I don't make my decisions based off of the family that I created. I make the decisions that I know are going to be good for me because it will make me be a better person for my family. And not everyone will agree with that, and that's perfectly okay. But it took a long time for me to dig deep and really figure that out because I did a job for a long time that I was really good at, but I did it because it was stable, it was consistent. I had a lot of flexibility being a new mom, but I never felt like it ignited something within me. And it wasn't till I was like, I think I'm supposed to be a business owner that I started to feel like, wow, this is something that I want to do. And, everybody who knows me knows that like I'm insane because I do like a million different businesses, but that's what brings me passion. That's what like ignites that fire. That's, sitting at a desk working 40 hours a week. Some people do that and they absolutely love it. I can't. And that's okay. Everybody's going to choose something different. And if being a stay-at-home mom is your first priority, do it. That's what you want to do, and that's what lights your fire, and that's what makes you happy. Praise be to you, because I give so much credit to the moms that can stay home all day with their kids, because my kids wouldn't survive if I was a stay-at-home mom. Like they just wouldn't, because I just don't have that in me, so and I
Understood
feel bad.
completely.
I feel bad when I say it because sometimes like I'll talk to some of my friends. I'm like, listen, I think you are the most incredible person for being able to do that. My brain just needs to do a gazillion other things, and every person is so different, right? So I'm sure in your line of business, we've worked together. That you come across so many different types of people and so many different types of passions, and assumingly you probably take a similar approach to all of them. And I've really been paying attention to your journey and like the things like that your clients are doing. And you do post about like, these big changes and things that they're doing. And I find it so amazing because you have this way about talking to people and really getting them to kind of start to do things that make them happy. And like you said, like defining your lifestyle, what are the things that make you happy? And it's hard, man. Like when you start getting to a point of like, let's say complacent, where you're waking up and you're doing the same thing every single day, you're like, no, this is good, like everything's good, like I have this, I have my health, like everything's good. But what do you find is the most interesting, or not interesting, but like when people come to you, is there like a typical theme as to why people want to make a big change?
Absolutely. So going back to what you had actually said about putting your family first, that's number one. People put their family first. And I know this is going to sound, I'm sure I'm going to piss off so many people right now, but
It's not
you
just me.
cannot put other people first before yourself. And I know this, it's ick, and I get it. But what you have to look at is if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of others,
True.
right? And day after day, we sacrifice the relationship with ourselves to benefit the relationship we have with other people,
Hmm.
starting with our family, starting with the people that we're closest to. And that's where that is the first thing that we need to give up. And it's not about giving up the relationship with your family. So please don't misunderstand me in that. But it comes down to the fact of, putting everything else for everybody else first and putting yourself into the ground. We have this great way of being able to, love from our overflow and give from our overflow with everybody that's around us, but we don't do that with our energy. And we have to be intentional with our energy because we only have so much to go around. If you are giving
That's
up
true.
all of your energy for everybody else or every business or every job or everything to around you, what do you have left for yourself? So
Right.
you have to start with that. And the majority of people are saying, I don't even know who I am anymore. I don't know what makes me happy. I
Right.
don't know what I want out of life. I don't know what my favorite foods are. And, we start there. I believe it or not, we start with what are your favorite foods? And they're like, I genuinely have no idea. I'm like, cool. So we're going to do a cool, fun trick. Um, I want you to, every single time you sit down to a meal, close your eyes, take a bite, chew it, swallow it, taste it. Do you like it? And most people come back to me and say, I have been eating the same oatmeal every day for the past 5 years, and I actually hate it. It's disgusting. Why am I doing this to myself? And I'm like, yeah, that's a good question. And they're
Isn't
like,
that funny?
my brain convinced me that it's healthy, so I have to do it. I'm
Right.
like, that's part of
And
that programming.
right. And it boils down like straight to your food, right? And as soon as you said what's your favorite food, I'm like, potatoes, but I don't want to interrupt you. And so, anybody, most people who know me, they're like, what kind of potato? I'm like, every kind of potato. And if it's a
Yeah.
French fry that's gluten free, I want all of the potatoes. So, I definitely know what kind of food that I want. But I've been on that self journey for the past several years, myself included. And I'm still going through it, right? It's a practice. It's like anything else. It's like, every day waking up and reminding yourself why we're doing what we're doing. And you've played a big part of that. Like, we've had some serious conversations where I'm like, oh, wow, I'm not paying attention to this, or I'm focusing in the wrong areas. And we do become so complacent. And I say that over and over again because I was that person that was complacent. And then when I got to the point and I said, no, I need to do the things that make me happy, it's that instant that guilt pops up like, am I doing this for myself? Am I doing it for my family? I am doing it for myself. But the only way I can show up 110% for everything that I do is because I'm focusing on myself first and my health first. Like I have a heart condition, so I have to focus on my health first. I mean, I'm even wearing a heart monitor today because I constantly have issues. But if I don't take care of me, then I'm no good for anybody, and my kids included. And it's a trigger for me. And I'll say this because I know you'll understand a little bit more of the story, and some people who know me will know this too. But when I was little, my parents got divorced. I was very young. I think I was like 8. And I remember my mom looking at me and saying, I need to take care of myself first. And if I can't take care of me, I can't take care of you. Now, she took that very literal in the sense of she just like packed up and left, but that was the only way she knew how to take care of herself. And I was really mad at her when I was younger because I used to always think, wow, how selfish was she? How selfish was she? And then it wasn't until I became a mom and I started losing my identity and started, not making decisions based off of what I wanted, but what other people wanted because it was easier. And then I said, oh no, I'm turning into that person. I started saying, I need to take care of me first. But I had to do it different. And I had to be very intentional of how I did it. I didn't pack up and leave them here with my kids, but I had to start like taking care of, physically and mentally and spiritually and all of the things that I had to start doing for me. And I started noticing little things start to change because I started to work on me first. I show up better. I can show up to the games. I can show up, for my kids. I can show up for all of the things because I'm working on me. And if anybody knows this, like and you talk about energy, when you wake up in the morning, if if you start the day off full of energy and at the end of the day, like you feel depleted, what if you woke up depleted every single morning? How are you ever going to be productive? Like, I know how I feel at the end of the day. I'm like, I don't want to talk to anybody. Right. And some people wake up and they feel like that right out the gate and nothing gets done. And that's where you come in, right?
Exactly. And there's a lot of people that come to me in that space of either stress or overwhelm. I've had people that the first time we get on a call, they are in hysterics. They are bawling their eyes out. They're like, I don't have anything left in me. And we have to start a whole rebuilding process. And that in itself takes so much longer than it needs to, just because like we allow ourselves to just get into that place of total depletion. And no one deserves that. No one ever deserves to be in a place of being depleted. But unfortunately, we all end up there, whether it be from trauma or, situations that we put ourselves into. Um, it could be a general occurrence. I mean, I have a lot of people that come to me that have either gone through divorce or are going through a divorce, and they are just like, I have nothing left to give. And it's like, okay, right now, you don't have anything left to give, but give it time. because you do have stuff left to give, but you're just not going to put up with the things that don't serve you, and you're not going to put up with the things that aren't feeding your energy. Because people kind of jump to that, oh well, all these outside things make me happy. All these outside things bring me joy. But the fact of the matter is, there is nothing responsible for creating our happiness or our joy besides ourselves. Everybody
110%.
around us is there to enhance the happiness, not
Right.
create it. It's not anybody else's job to create happiness for you. It's yours. So when you start getting into that mindset, it also means it's nobody else's job to make you happy when you are unhappy. It's your job to get yourself back into your happy.
And it's amazing how much of our lives we spend expecting it to come from other people, whether it's our children, our significant others, our friends. But when we start finding happiness within ourselves, your whole life changes.
Complete.
And it's an amazing thing. We're going to cut to our first break, and when we come back from our break, we're going to talk a little bit more about finding happiness within ourselves, and then how we can go through a program like yours to make these big pivotal changes to make our lives better. So stay tuned, we'll be right back.
These are the top 3 questions I get from people about investing in real estate. How much money do I need to get to the next level? How do I find good properties to invest in? Can I even make money in this business when interest rates are so high? I answer these questions and many more in my online course, SFR University, where I show you the strategy that I used to build a multi-million-dollar real estate business in 4 years from scratch. Whether you're just starting out or someone who's looking to scale, this course will have something for you. Join us at sfruniversity.com. See you in the course.
Welcome back. I am Jen Potter, the host of Networking Now, and I am joined with Suzanne Dwyer, and she is an intuitive business and lifestyle coach who does all of these amazing things to help people get out of their own way, get out of their head, and start living the life that they truly deserve to live. And you all know how much that means to me. And Suzanne is a great friend, and she has given me so much wisdom and guidance in our friendship that's truly changed my life. And every time I have a conversation with her, I feel like my whole life is like it's changing, and it's a beautiful thing. And so I'm so grateful that we have this friendship, and that I have you here today. And before we broke for this break, that sounds silly, but we started talking about self-happiness, and self-happiness is something that we strive for, but not many people always achieve it right away. We look for happiness in other things, myself included. I'm sure you did it at one point too. But let's dive a little bit into that self-happiness. Like, what does that look like? If someone is looking to find happiness, I can't just go out and buy a puppy and be like, the puppy is going to make me happy and it's going to change my life. Well, the puppy will make me happy for a short period of time, but will that truly make me happy? So what are some things that people misconstrue as happiness, and what are some things that we can do to start living a happier life? I mean, I'm doing it already, but I also take your advice. So
And I love that you take the advice, because not everybody does. And then they're like, why am I not happy? I'm like, because you're not listening. So can't help you. Well, so happiness is one of those things that people do look at immediately to the external, because that's what we've been trained to do. We've been trained to, you have to have this car, you have to make this money, you have to have this career, you have to have this degree, to be considered successful. And then once you're considered successful, then you can actually be happy. Right. So like happiness doesn't come from an internal place with the narrative that's been created for us. Um, so it's about kind of creating your new narrative. You have to create a new space to say, like, what is it that actually makes me happy? And at the end of the day, it's never a thing. It's never an object. It's never a person. What it comes down to is a feeling. So when I personally went into my reflection, my deep reflection into what makes me happy, I realized that my happy is peace. And that means that I need to feel internal peace. I need to feel like I'm in a peaceful state. I need to feel like I'm bringing peace to other people. I need to feel like peace is my natural center. And that place of peace will then transpire out of me and create spaces around others to be able to allow them to like step into their state of happiness and into their state of peace. So it always comes down to an internal feeling. It never comes down to an object. I mean, I tried the objects, just like you said. Put myself into a mountain of debt buying a multi-million dollar property, 10 acres of land, four houses, and a partridge in a pear tree. I took on all of that for myself, and I took on 9 hours of mowing the lawn every week. I took on, multi-million dollar company. I took on all of the big stuff, and guess what? At the end of the day, not only did it not make me happy, but it almost killed me. My stress levels were so high. My cortisol was through the roof. I was absolutely outright exhausted. And didn't realize that there was a problem until I had a hard time just walking. Didn't know what was going on until my doctor was like, hey, so like you're on the verge of liver and kidney failure.
Wow.
And that was like a real eye-opening moment. She's like, if you don't change something like now, immediately, um, you're gonna end up dying. You have one kidney, you have one kidney, and going into failure means death.
Hmm.
So you can't keep doing this. And that's something that it hit really hard, and it forced me into a place of reflection, and it forced me into a place of realizing that stuff didn't make me happy. Having the cars, having the houses, having the business, like all of that stuff was not making me happy. It was not making me feel fulfilled. It was making me feel exhausted, overwhelmed, overstressed. And it made me also realize that I was being heavily pushed into my masculine energy. And I would left no room for my feminine energy, which was crazy because, like, I'm a type of girl, I literally have aprons. Like, what 40-year-old woman do you know that has aprons? Like,
I love aprons.
right? Okay, thank you. So, like, aprons make me happy. I enjoy aprons. And people are like, what makes you happy about an apron? I'm like, because when I put the apron on, it makes me feel peaceful. When I do gardening, that makes me happy. Why? Because when I'm out there in the garden, it makes me feel peaceful. Going to the beach makes me happy. Why? Because when I'm there, it makes me feel peaceful. It creates that feeling, that internal feeling that I know is the natural center for me. And so when you're trying to find that place of happiness, it always comes down to the feelings that we have that we're constantly told are not valid. It's about combating against those thoughts and the actions of others saying that the feelings are not valid, and really leaning into those and saying, not only are our feelings totally valid, but our feelings are what we need to pay attention to know when we're doing the right thing by ourselves.
Absolutely. And you know how big I am on that. And, self validity. Nobody is going to tell me what is valid but me. And,
Exactly.
and,
Nobody ever
and
can.
right. And that's really hard for a lot of people, right? Like a lot of people really struggle with seeking out external validity. And for a long time, I did, right? That was something that I always sought after. I like, I need approval. I'm going to get my degree. What do you guys think? Aren't you proud of me? Like, when I do all of these amazing things, like someone needs to pat me on my back. Now, when I do things like, everybody loves recognition. Like, I'd be lying if I said that I didn't love recognition. But at the same time, it doesn't hold the same weight that it used to. It used to hold so much weight that, like, oh, if I go and do this, if somebody doesn't pat me on my back, I didn't do a good job. No, I really actually don't care if anybody thinks if I did a good job or not. If I do it and it makes me happy, and like you said, peace. That word right there, that is like that's going to be the word of the week, is the word peace, because that self-reflection and finding peace. The only time I am truly happy is when I'm doing the things that bring me, I say, joy, but also peace. I have a heart condition. My heart rate is constantly elevated. When my heart is not elevated and I am at this state of calm, I am so happy. And for a lot of things, like you, gardening, love gardening, being out there, it just, I don't know, pulling out those weeds and what it looks like and smelling the flowers. Like, I clearly love flowers. They're all over my arm. And, being in the water and being at the beach, I am such at peace. And, when I'm doing those things, I don't need to answer to anybody. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. And, we get to this point where you end up in the hospital, myself included, and you're told that you got to stop doing something. And me, I do a million things, and a million things make me happy, but I realize I probably should only do half a million things, because then I'd probably be even happier. So I'm working on it. I promise I'm working on it. I'm like, I get new ideas. But I'm working on it. But it's something that I need to work on for myself. But, when we're talking about everybody else, we don't want everyone to get to the point that they hit exhaustion, that they end up in the hospital. What are some things that people can do to make a pivot today, that even, obviously the goal is like you want to have people who want to work with you and to really help make a big life-changing difference. But if they aren't able to work with you, or, whatever, what is something that somebody can do in order to make a small change, pivot where they are, and start to see a difference?
Absolutely. So, number one thing is it comes down to first getting into your state of awareness. And that comes with giving yourself 15 minutes a day. 15 minutes uninterrupted. And I do mean uninterrupted. Put the phone away, put the children in the overhead compartment if need be, duct tape the husband to the wall. I don't care what you need to do, but 15 minutes of uninterrupted time. You need to give that to yourself. You need to make sure that you're taking time, whether it's going for a walk and just actually being in the space. Look at the animals that you see. Look at the trees. Look at the flowers. Smell the air. Use your senses around you and just be somewhere for 15 minutes. If you can go to the beach, go to the beach, wherever you're going to feel the most like yourself. For some people, they're like, all I can get is 15 minutes in my living room. Okay, great. What do you see? What do you smell? What do you hear? Use your senses, get into your state of awareness, because once you start doing that, you're able to start being a lot more aware of everything you have going on around you that you
Mm-hmm.
might be missing. Because the universe, she's fantastic, right? So she's going to give you these like little tiny things all the time and say, hey, listen. So you should be paying attention to this thing. Oh, but you're not paying attention. Okay, so let me show you again. Well, let me show you again. Well, listen, she taps you only a couple times, and then she's going to come across your face and violently slap you. Okay,
I
the
can vouch for
violent
all of
slap,
this.
right? The violent slap usually can come in the form of a hospital bed. It can come in the form of, a heart palpitation, right? It can come in the form of a
Right.
million and one different things, but she's going to get your attention one way or the other. You're better off paying attention. You're better off being in your awareness so that when she starts trying to get your attention, you're paying attention already so she doesn't have to get violent with you, because she will, right? Give yourself the opportunity to just give yourself 15 minutes to just ground yourself. Figure out your space, get into your awareness, and just use all of your senses. What do you hear, see, smell? If you're in a food environment, what do you taste? You can even taste the air if you're outside. There's things you can taste in the air. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but when you buy salt water, do you taste salt in your mouth? Typically,
Absolutely.
yes, right? Um, you can taste the things that are going on around you. You can smell it, you can hear it, you can feel it. All of those things are aspects that connect with you. So allow yourself 15 minutes every single day to do it. That's going to really start helping you start becoming within your awareness, and you can start feeling everything that's going on around you.
I truly love and appreciate that, because that's something that I do personally, and I found that it has brought out a completely different side of me, which most people don't know about. I'm actually publishing a different book this year, and something that I would have never thought that I would do. Well, it's something I've always wanted to do, but never thought that I would do. And it started with my 15 minutes of peace. I started writing, but writing differently. I started writing poetry. And I'm actually almost done with my first book, which is so insane to say that out loud, and that this is the first time I'm mentioning it. But it started off with the 15 minutes. It started off with being present in my surroundings. When I am working and I feel like I can't focus anymore, I actually stop everything that I'm doing. I put on like a super chill, like relaxing music. I go for a walk, or even like if I'm stuck at home, I walk outside, and all of a sudden I come back in and like I start writing. I put it aside and I just go right back to work. And it's been one of the most amazing things that has come out of me finding my time to myself. And so I can vouch for that. And, I said this before, whether someone works with you or not, I personally would say to anyone to have a conversation with you. Just have one conversation and see where that conversation goes, because every time I talk to you, I feel like I learned something new and something different. And you are extremely blunt and you're forward and you're going to say it how it is, which those are my favorite things in the entire world because I don't sugarcoat anything. But you have really opened up my perspective on a lot of things, and I'm really grateful for that. And so if someone wants to get a hold of you, they want to have a call to see if this is something that they would do, tell us all of the things. How can they get a hold of you? How can they reach you? Tell us everything.
Absolutely. So it's super simple. You guys can go to suzannedwyer.com. It's SUZANNEDWYER.com. And all my information is there. You can book with me. You can even get access to some of my favorite books, some of my favorite resources. I have those there for you as well. So even if you're like not ready just yet, there are things that you can go and grab from there as well. Because there are some great resources that are already at our fingertips. So I always want to make sure to encourage people to do that.
That's awesome. And yes, and if you can't get a hold of her, you can reach out to me. I can, like I said, I can give you all the contact information. Thank you so much for being here today. I hope you'll be able to join us again soon, and continue talking. So thank you, and I hope you have a great day.
Thanks, you too. Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
having me.
Absolutely.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Welcome back. I'm Jen Potter, the host of Networking Now. Previously, we were joined by Suzanne Dwyer, who is a business and lifestyle intuitive coach. And now we have Jennifer Hobson, who is an amazing business and lifestyle coach of such, right? And she does so many amazing things, but they're both completely different, but they do a lot of things that are very similar. So I'm so excited that they were both on the show today and are able to talk about business and life. And when I was talking with Suzanne, we were talking about happiness and growth, and making changes, whether it's in life or business, to make a pivot, to change, to be a better version of ourselves. And when I was talking with Jen, one of the things that she wanted to focus on was also pivoting, and talking about how there are different seasons for pivoting and how we have to make a change in order to, again, be the best version of ourselves in business and in life. And so, Jen, thank you so much for joining me today. You know how much I just love having you on the show, and I, just gave you just like a title. I'm like, you do all the business things, and you have all of these amazing businesses, your podcast, and you wouldn't be where you are today if you didn't pivot, right? And we wouldn't be where we are today if it wasn't for networking. And so there are all of these things that have brought us together, and I would love to dive into what it looks like, and in what we were talking about, what it means to make a pivot in business or in life and in networking, and how all of that kind of comes together.
For sure. So, the word that I used with you is seasons, right?
Yes.
And I think I'm actually gonna be 40 at the end of this year. All my
Yay!
friends I grew up with, they're
Welcome to the club.
they're hitting 40, and I'm like, I'm still 39. But as I am hitting that age, right, we usually think of milestones, and the way that I've changed how I look at that is seasons, right? There was a season of life where maybe I was struggling and challenged, and then there was a season where I changed where I lived, what I decided to do. There's a season of growth, there's a season of family, and there's all these different seasons. So versus saying, just milestones or where I should be, is spending the time to identify what season you're in right now. And I think if you're able to identify the season that you're in, you're able to more accurately steer your ship, right? You're
I love
more
that.
accurate to steer your ship towards the best version of you and towards that self awareness and happiness. Because the biggest thing is, the best version of you isn't always the same. There's different versions of that for you. And you have to figure out, well, where am I right now? What are the three most important things to me? My focus is where I'm putting my time and my energy. Am I in a season of growth? Am I in a season of rest? Am I in a season of family? It can be more than one sometimes, but I think sometimes, especially when you're talking about networking, I was having this conversation yesterday actually with our friend Brenda Hernandez, who's been on your show.
Love
And we
her.
were talking about, where you choose to spend your time and what you have to say yes to and what you have to say no to, and the ROI, especially when it comes to network marketing. I'm sorry, not network marketing, network meetings, right? When you come to network meetings, because it's this idea, it can be hugely, hugely supportive of your business. However, if you allow it, it can also be a huge time suck. And you have to make sure you're choosing the meetings that meet your season, the time that meets where you are, right? Because we can go back to, well, I went to 25 networking meetings this week, but your goal was actually to build your business and get 10 new clients, and you didn't spend any time there. And I think it's super important to take a
I
step
love
back.
that.
Okay, right now I'm in a season of growth. I want to grow my business to the next level. Well, what are the things that I have to do to get to the next level? Yes, it includes networking, but I want to make sure I'm in the right meetings. What's my demographic? Am I going to a male-oriented network meeting, or am I going to a female-oriented meeting because that's my demographic? Or moms, mom groups. There's so many mom networking groups. So at the heart of it is really breaking down, am I in a season of growth? Am I in a season of rest? Because we know there's no stagnant, right? There's no stability. You're either going forward or you're going backwards. It's okay to rest, but no. And if you're supposed to be in a season of rest and you're still saying yes to everything you used to say yes to, you're not actually resting. And that's when you start to feel overwhelmed and you start to feel frustrated because you're not doing the things that you said were important to you at that time.
I really I love that because like as you're going through each of those, I'm like, oh, I remember when I was in this stage. And one of the things that like you definitely made sure to point out is that season of rest. A lot of us end up at the season of rest because of burnout,
Yeah.
and we don't get there willingly.
Mm-hmm.
But I almost feel like when you said it, it was like, wow, I probably should plan for that. Like I probably should plan to
Yeah.
slow down. And I've started doing that actually, and most people don't believe me, but I mean this sincerely. I have been working on a strategy on how to take more off of my plate as more things are coming on. And I find that when I don't rest, I get burnt out and everything just ends up, things hit the fan. And having this opportunity to say you need to rest, don't say yes. That's hard, right? One of the things I focused on over the past few months was stop taking meetings that don't seem meaningful to you. Like if you have somebody that, wants to schedule a meeting because they just want to get to know you, that's okay, but limit how many you're doing. Like you said, you're trying to grow your business. Well, if you're going to 10 hours of networking meetings and you're completely burnt out, how are you going to work on your business? What are you going to do to make a change? And it's so easy, like myself included. I have a lot of people that they're like, let's have coffee, let's do this, let's do this. And I have to be so intentional with my time because if I'm not intentional with my time, I find that all of those things are great and they all fill up my calendar, but are they helping with the growth of my business? Are they helping with the growth of my personal journey? And when I find that they're not, then it's like a suck, just like you said. It really just like pulls this away from you. And it's so important to recognize that. And I circled the word growth when you said that because I'm in a season of growth. And I've had to be really intentional of my time, and it's been so hard. Like me and you still have to get coffee and I put that as a priority, but my schedule has just been so packed where I've had to ask myself, how am I going to reassess this to make it make more sense for me and make it not be so stressed out all the time. So it's really hard to do.
I love
And
that you mentioned planning, right? So what I did the other day, one of my activities in my personal business is, especially for the summer can be a tricky time, is planning out the next quarter and
Yes.
making sure, I have my 90-day Shine Well program, and I could choose to overlap it every single month, but that would not serve the clients that I wanted to serve. It would not serve the business, and it would not serve my energy to put back into the business to continue to grow it. And I want to really harp on the word rest versus stop,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's a time to rest, but if you have big goals and visions, which if you're listening to the show, that's probably why. So it's resting versus stopping. And like you said, take the chance to plan it versus having to rest because now you're sick, someone in your family is sick, or you have a financial burden. Being forced to rest won't serve you.
Right. And it's amazing how when you're forced to rest, then you realize you can't do all of the things, and you might even fall even further behind because you didn't plan for it, or you didn't, if you didn't take the time and you didn't slow down. Like this morning, I wanted to go to the gym so bad. I'm like, I need to get up. I need to go to the gym. I've been working out more. I've been cycling more, but I hurt my back the other day. And this morning I woke up and I was like gung ho to go to the gym. And I rolled over and like my back hurt. And I said, do I lay here and rest, or do I get up and push myself? Because I know going to the gym will make me happy. But do I risk hurting myself, or do I lay here and stretch out my back for a half hour? And I laid in bed and I stretched my back for a half an hour. And obviously this is more physical than mental, but it ties into itself. If I went to the gym, what if I tweaked my back that much more? Now I'm out for an extra week. But if I stay in bed for half an hour, I can probably go to the gym tomorrow. And so it's a small example, but those are things that we do mentally a lot. Oh, I can just work for another hour. I'll just stay up for another hour and I'll do this. I'll just do this. I'll just say yes to this now, and then tomorrow I won't say yes. I'm a yes girl. I used to be a people pleaser. So and I still fall into the habit sometimes because it's a learned behavior, right? We all do it. I'm guilty of it. I try super hard and I try to be accountable, but we are that yes person sometimes, and sometimes saying yes too many times, like really, it hurts us. It doesn't help us. Like, you want to do all the things, you have to outweigh, like, is it really helping your business grow? Is it going to make a big difference? Are you making a change? And it's hard to get out of that mentality. Like, what do you suggest to someone who is a constant yes person, but probably should rest, but but they need to be reminded that they're still making a difference or a change?
So, and actually, I've done this many times in coaching, is you have to bring it back and go, okay, first look at your calendar and write down everything that you either next week are going to do or what you have done this week. And then do a self check and go, was this a good use of my time? Was it not a good use of my time? And really see, where am I putting my time? And then going back to the things that we worked on at the beginning of coaching, or even at the beginning of the year, what were the 3 things we said were the most important that took precedence over everything? Does the calendar match those 3 focuses? Because if not, something's not connecting, right? And my perfect example for people is, so that's that time for rest, and there's the time for growth. If you don't take the time for rest, it's like a rocket ship, right? It's really, really hard to launch a rocket ship if you don't have any boosters,
I like that.
right? And you can't launch. It's like trying to jump with your legs that are straight. You need to bend down before you can jump higher. And people always think, well, I just got to keep going. I got to keep going. I got to keep going. It's like, take pause, identify where you're spending your time, connect it back to what you said was important, connect it back to what you said. What were the actionable items you said were going to move you towards your goals? And do they match? And I tell people this all the time. You have to say no to protect your yes.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be able to say yes to the things that are going to move you forward.
Right. And no doesn't mean no. It just means not right now. Mm-hmm. And if someone takes a no as a hard no, is that something that you actually want to work on anyways? Right. And it's just, the no's help us so much. And it's amazing how when we really start to focus on the things that are important, not saying yes all the time, really honoring our time. It's hard as, like I said, a people pleaser. We always want everyone to be happy, but it boils back down to self-happiness. If we're not happy, how is everybody around us going to be happy? What are we going to sacrifice for internal happiness? And there's a lot of things that, we think that these outside forces are going to make us happy, but like in reality, if we don't start listening to ourselves, like we're screwed when it comes to burnout. I talked about that before with Suzanne as well. Like, you know, when you wake up in the morning and you have your cup of coffee and you're like this boost of energy and you're like, go, go, go. And that's how I wake up every morning. I'm like a rocket ship when I wake up and I'm like, whew. But for me, by the time I get to the end of the day, I have no bandwidth. Like, I don't want to do anything. I put on a pointless TV show. I zone out so I can just recoup. But I know that that's me. What happens if you wake up and that's how you feel, right? A lot of us wake up and they feel like that, how I feel at 11 o'clock at night. If I woke up like that, where am I going to go? I'm not even going to get downstairs. So it's so important that like you keep refilling that cup, because you can't pour from an empty cup. And people say, oh, well, no, you can't. Reality is once the water's gone, it's gone. That's reality. You have to do that. So we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to dive a little bit deeper and talk a little bit more of the things that we can do to make changes so we can be happy in business and in life. We'll be right back.
Taking a trip in the next 12 months? Airlines are under tremendous pressure and they're practically giving away their unsold seats. Like every crisis, this one will end too. But right now is the best time to take advantage of giveaway ticket prices on their unsold seats. We're not allowed to publish these low fares online. The only way to get these rock bottom giveaway prices is to call. So phone low-cost airlines now for airline ticket prices you may never see again.
Welcome back. I'm Jen Potter, host of Networking Now, and I am joined with Jennifer Hobson. And before the break, we were talking about rest and growth and how we can have the best mindset to be the best possible versions of ourselves. And this has kind of been a theme throughout the entire show, just talking about the things that make us happy, but then realizing the things that make us happy are ourselves. And one of the things that we talked about during the break and Jen quoted, happiness isn't constant. And when she said that, I was kidding around and I was like, you popped my bubble, because I always want to be happy. But she's right. Happiness isn't constant. We have to go through some pretty crappy times sometimes to realize what our happiness actually is. So we're always striving for happiness, but we're not always going to be happy, right? And so when you said that, I instantly just, like I said, I felt like, oh, that's sad. But you're like, but you have to go through things. Like, you instantly, before I even could like be sad, you were like, but you have to go through things. So I want to talk a little bit more about that. Talk about happiness isn't a constant. It's, just like any range of emotion, but we can stay in it longer than others if we change our way of thinking. So when we say happiness isn't a constant, tell everybody what you were telling me.
All right. So I think that's something I've really learned, not even in the last 10 years, probably the last 7 years. And it's, I think a lot of times we go through life and we're like, I just want to be happy. And it's this thought of like this big cheesy smile, and nothing negative happens in our day and nothing challenges us. And it's this constant state of like elation. And that's a fairy tale. That's magical, made up mystery.
So what I'm posting on social media and everybody thinks is real, it is real, but they don't get to see all those negative sides, right?
Yeah.
So someone said that to me the other day. They're like, nothing is wrong in your life. Like, you are always so happy and like you do all of these amazing things. I go, yeah, because I'm not airing my dirty laundry on social media, but I'm not always in a state of happiness.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure. And I think what you said is important, is that you're choosing these different things, right? The things that you're sharing those are your happy moments. That's why you want to share, because happiness does spread, right? I see you
Absolutely.
enjoying something. I see you being celebrated. That brings me joy. Yesterday, I was at an event for Girls Inc. in Taunton. I wasn't celebrated, but a girl that I met actually through networking, her name is Brittany Valero, she was celebrated, and it gave
Love
me
her.
joy watching someone else be celebrated. So it goes back to happiness isn't constant. It's rooted in the things you find joy in, and it's rooted in the things that give you energy. And I really want to point that out, because a lot of us spend time doing the things we think we're supposed to be doing, and we put the things that actually bring us joy and happiness on the back burner. What I shared with you before we even got started, I am a dancer. I am part of an adult tap group, and that has nothing to do with my business goals, my family goals. I'm not trying to be a professional dancer at this age, but what it does is it makes me
You
happy.
totally could be if you wanted to, though.
I could if I wanted to. That's not the goal, but what the goal is I'm happy when I'm there. And that
Right.
1 hour a week is all about me, because you have to select the time where you are being selfish and saying, I'm giving myself time, because pouring into that cup is what allows me to pour into all the other things. If I'm a happier person, I'm a happier mom. If I'm a happier person, I'm a happier coach, right? And it's not this constant thing. And like you had said from our conversation, is you have to go through challenges, and you have to have, crappy things happen to you, so that when you are in that state of happiness, you're like, oh, I am so grateful for this moment, because I know what the other side of it looks like. And I think a lot of happiness has to be rooted in being grateful. And I've said this to you before, is that you can't be angry and grateful at the same time.
It's true. It's
Your
true.
brain can't actually comprehend the two emotions. So spending time daily going, you know what? Sometimes you're just grateful for the 15 minutes you got alone to drink your tea or your coffee in the morning, or the 10 pages of the book you wanted to read for an hour, but you only got 10 pages. So you're grateful for that. And the other side of it, it's definitely been a learning experience for me, because in the past, I would hang on to things for a really long time, and they would bring me down. And
Same.
actually, Hal Elrod, his book Miracle Equation is an amazing book if you haven't read that one. And a big part in his story that he shares with, he found out he could potentially be paralyzed, and he let it go. Let it go. He took a few minutes to feel it, be angry and upset about it, and then let it go, because go forward, it wasn't going to serve him to continue to be upset. And I've had to adapt that in a lot of different situations where I am upset and something didn't go my way, or it was a challenge or block or a wall or whatever I didn't see coming. But continuing to hold on to the anger and the resentment and the frustration isn't going to change the outcome.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
And and you said some really powerful things in there, so I'm going to recap a few things. But one of them was that time for yourself. And you don't know what Suzanne talked about, right, earlier in the show. And it's funny because she mentioned something very similar, so I love how those kind of intertwined, because she was talking about taking 15 minutes a day, and you're like, well, I take a whole hour once a week, so something very similar. And then you're like, be grateful for being able to read 10 pages of your book and having time for yourself. Be grateful for sipping and having that, that tea when the house is nice and quiet and the kids are sleeping, and just be in that moment. And it's so hard to have that. But I find, and I said this to her earlier too, that the more I focus on that smaller segment of time, the more productive I am, the more creative I am, the more happier and grateful I am. And, we go through all of these different things in the course of our day, and not even giving yourself 15 minutes is that's a big deal. We waste so much of our time doing so many other things. If we just channel that, like the time for the recording got mixed up today, and I said, you know what, I'm going to sit here quietly and I'm going to write, because no one's going to interrupt me. Nobody knows I'm not doing what I should be doing. I'm just going to do that. And it felt so nice to just sit here with zero obligation and be present. I mean, I have a million things to do, but I chose not to. I chose to just be present in the moment. And it just really allowed me to just be a little bit more peaceful today. And, and then you go back and you talked about, what that author said about, he could be paralyzed. And that's terrifying. And I don't know what that feels like, but having a heart condition, having two heart conditions, and, being told like, I'm never going to be able to run the Boston Marathon. I held on to that for a long time. It took me 10 years, but I ran the Boston Marathon, even though I was told I was never going to. And, I've actually come very close to dying several times because of my heart, and situations that have happened, like a heart attack and etc. And, you're told like you can't do things, or you have to change your lifestyle. And I'm a very healthy person to begin with, so it's hard to change your lifestyle when you're pretty healthy to begin with. But, I could hold on to that, because everyone's like, I don't know how you live with something like this. I live with it as if it doesn't exist. And I said this earlier on the show today. I actually have a heart monitor on right now because I have been having problems with my heart. And I keep forgetting that it's there because I'm not letting it control me. And, for me personally, I could let it control me. It's so easy. Like, I have a heart condition that literally stops me dead in my tracks. Like, I'll be fine 1 minute, and the next minute I'm like, oh, I gotta stop and sit for an hour and a half. But I have to honor it. And I honor it when it's present. And when it's not, it doesn't exist. And just like him, what is it serving me if I hold on to it? Oh my goodness. Like, if I go for a bike ride, what happens if something happens? If I get in my car, what happens if something happens? I'd be a nervous wreck and I wouldn't live my life. But I never let it control me. And it's the weirdest thing to say out loud when it's not present. I mean, it's present all the time, but when it's not controlling how I feel, it's like it doesn't even exist. It really doesn't.
Yeah,
and that's the only way you should be.
And flipping it too, right? You're choosing not to pay attention to it. And when you change that thought and go, you know what? But I'm going to choose to be a happy person and live in happiness. I know not every moment is going to be happy. And my example for today, right? My son is homesick for the third day in a row. I have a choice. I can choose and go, this is going to mess up my whole week. It's going to get in the way of the things I want to do. Or I go, you know what? I'm so grateful. I said yes to being an entrepreneur 7 years ago, and I have the ability to stay home and not have to use a sick day, and to stay here and make sure he's okay, and to also go, he's almost 9. He's never been sick for this long. I'm glad that he's typically healthy. He's typically a healthy kid. Like, all of these other things, and we have to flip the way that we think about this. And this is not toxic positivity. We've talked about this before. It's the choice of finding what is good in your life and identifying it versus
Yes.
focusing on and choosing to be a victim of your situation.
Well, and positive creates positive. And so if you look for something positive is going to come out of it, right? Like, every negative situation, every negative has a positive. Like, we talked about this before. I have a science background. I am a nerd to the core, and every negative has a positive. Every positive has a negative. But if we always look at the positive in every negative situation, some people will say, I have toxic positivity. That is not true. I will always find something positive in every negative situation. Even today, right? You said your son's home. My son doesn't have daycare this week. I own a nannying agency. All of my nannies are working. My personal nanny is actually away working, doing something else, and on another business that she has. And I came at it from such a place of calm, where he's crazy and he's hyper, and I'm like, okay, maybe I can find someone to help for just a few hours. And when he's not, I have the ability to be home. I can take him to my meetings if I really want to. Like this morning, every Wednesday, I have a morning meeting with a friend and a colleague, and we just, we talk about the week. We literally meet for 45 minutes to an hour. We have breakfast together. We live super close. And this morning I was like, so I have my 3.5-year-old. I'm like, can he come? She's like, yeah, absolutely. Bring him along. And so instead of stressing out or canceling my meeting or, whatever, I'm like, you know what, bud, come with me to a meeting because I can. And it didn't add any additional stress. I was super calm about it. And now he's like, he's able to hang outside with like a good friend of mine who came over to watch him for a little bit. And I knew that if I did that, it would make his day that much better. We have the ability to be home with our kids. We have the ability to be flexible. I am grateful that I have that opportunity. I created it, but I'm grateful for it. And, when, like you said, with your little one sick, like no one wants to see your little one sick, but if anyone's going to be home, at least it's you. Yeah. At least you can control your schedule. Mm-hmm. and you have a full, and there's no guilt. Yeah. There's no guilt because you're not calling out of work. And I just think that that's a beautiful thing. So So thank you so much for bringing that up. I just think it's super important. And as we start to kind of wrap everything up, is there anything else that you wanted to kind of jump in and add to this? I know one of the things that we focused on, it was that continuous mindset. What are some suggestions that you could give to our audience to just tell them, something small that they can do to make a positive mindset?
Absolutely. So one of the things that I even do with my premier program, which is Shine Well, it's actually a wellness program. But a lot of the time is spent focusing on mindset. And one of the journals that they're offered, it actually just asking you to write down 3 things you're grateful for and 2 things that were a success for you. I think we need to spend more time focusing on what we do amazing and what we have done. And sometimes it's like, I got out of bed and brushed my teeth today. And sometimes it's something more epic than that. But spending time, whether it's in your business journey or your family journey or your health journey, taking the time to identify what you're grateful for and what you have done instead of always, even in jobs, we're like, well, what skills could you do better at? And yes, there's always an opportunity for that. However, let's spend more time actually celebrating the wins and being grateful for the opportunities or the things that we've experienced. And those are the things that I work